He woke up to the quiet sound of morning birds outside the window and the faint scent of coffee that had gone cold on the counter. The clock read 6:47 a.m., and the light that came through the blinds fell softly on the small frame of his son, still sleeping on the couch. Ethan rubbed his tired eyes, ran his hand through his hair, and whispered to himself that another long day had begun. He didn't mind the work. He just wished it didn't have to be this hard. After losing his wife 3 years ago, he had done everything he could to raise his little boy alone. At first, it was just grief and confusion that filled the days. But as months turned to years, there were bills, endless chores, and the constant effort to keep a home that had lost its warmth. His son, Noah, was only 6 now, a bright-eyed boy who still asked about his mother sometimes. The questions had lessened, but every time he mentioned her, Ethan felt his heart twist. He'd tried to fill the house with laughter again, but working 2 jobs and coming home to a pile of dishes, laundry, and an empty fridge made it hard. Some nights, Noah would fall asleep waiting for his dad to read him a story, the book still open in his tiny hands. Ethan knew something had to change. That morning, when his boss told him he'd have to work extra shifts for the next few weeks, he made the decision to hire someone to help around the house. He couldn't afford much, but he needed the help. Through a friend of a friend, he got the number of a woman who worked cleaning homes in the neighborhood. She's quiet, reliable, and doesn't charge much, his friend had said. Her name's Clara. Ethan hesitated. He wasn't comfortable letting strangers into his home, especially around his son. But he reminded himself this wasn't about comfort. It was about survival. He called the number that evening. A soft, almost hesitant voice answered. "Hello. Hi. Is this Clara?" He asked. "Yes. Who's calling?" "My name's Ethan. I was told you help clean houses sometimes. I need some help around here." There was a pause, as if she was unsure whether to agree. "I can come by tomorrow morning if that works. Just for a few hours." "That's perfect," Ethan said. "I'll text you the address." The next morning, as Noah sat at the kitchen table drawing little rockets with his crayons, Ethan heard a knock at the door. He wiped his hands on a towel and opened it. The woman who stood there looked to be in her early 30s, her hair tied back neatly, wearing a faded blue sweater and jeans. She held a small bag in one hand and smiled politely. "You must be Ethan," she said. He nodded. "And you're Clara. Please, come in." As she stepped inside, she glanced around quietly, taking in the clutter, the unwashed dishes, the toys scattered across the floor, the pile of laundry in the corner. She didn't look judgmental, only calm. "Where should I start?" she asked softly. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "Anywhere, really. I know it's a mess." She smiled gently. "Don't worry. I've seen worse." Noah peeked from behind the kitchen doorway, watching her curiously. She noticed him and smiled. "Hi there," she said softly. Noah didn't answer. He just stared for a moment, his big brown eyes fixed on her. Then he whispered something under his breath that Ethan didn't catch. Clara crouched slightly, her smile never fading. "What's your name?" "Noah," he said. "That's a nice name. I have a little girl, too. She's about your age." Noah's eyes widened a little. "Really? What's her name?" "Lily," Clara said quietly. "She's 6. That small connection broke the ice, and soon Noah was showing her his drawings, explaining how his rockets were going to the moon. Clara listened patiently, asking him questions and laughing softly. Ethan stood there, surprised at how easily his shy son had warmed up to her. As the hours passed, Clara worked quietly, methodically. She moved through the rooms with careful steps, humming softly under her breath. Ethan watched from the hallway as she folded clothes, washed dishes, and tidied up the toys. There was something almost graceful about the way she did it, not just cleaning, but restoring a kind of order the house hadn't known in a long time. When she finished, she looked around the kitchen, now spotless, and said, "That should be better for now." Ethan thanked her and handed her some cash. She hesitated before taking it, as if it made her uncomfortable. I'll come back next week, if you want, she said quietly. Yes, please, Ethan replied. You've really helped. Over the next few weeks, Clara became a regular part of their routine. Every Tuesday and Friday morning, she arrived early, always polite and soft-spoken. Sometimes she brought small treats for Noah, a homemade cookie, a little paper airplane she had folded herself. Noah adored her. He'd sit on the floor while she cleaned, talking to her endlessly about superheroes, school, and his mom. One morning, he asked her, "Do you think moms can see us from heaven?" Clara paused, her hands stilling for just a moment. Then she nodded. "I think they can, yes." Her voice trembled slightly, but she smiled through it. Ethan noticed small details about her. The way she looked at Noah sometimes, like she was holding back tears. The way she would hum lullabies that sounded almost like the ones his late wife used to sing. He wondered about her story but never asked. She seemed private, and he respected that. Then one Friday afternoon, as he came home from work earlier than usual, he found Clara sitting on the porch steps, holding Noah's hand. The boy was crying. Ethan rushed forward, alarmed. What happened? Noah sniffled and wiped his eyes. I fell off my bike. Clara smiled reassuringly. He's okay, just a scrape on the knee. I cleaned it up. Ethan knelt down and checked the bandage. You're tougher than me, buddy, he said, trying to make Noah smile. Clara chuckled softly. He's brave. Reminds me of my Lily. That was the first time Ethan really looked into her eyes. There was pain there, deep and quiet, like someone carrying a story they'd never told. He wanted to ask, but something held him back. A few days later, something strange happened. Clara arrived looking pale and tired, as if she hadn't slept. She apologized, saying she might not be able to keep coming for long. Ethan was surprised. Why? Is everything okay? She hesitated. It's just, things are complicated right now. My daughter's been sick, and I'm trying to keep up with everything. Ethan felt a pang of sympathy. I'm sorry. If you need time off, take it. Family comes first. Clara smiled weakly. Thank you. That means a lot. That weekend, Ethan and Noah went grocery shopping together. While Noah ran ahead toward the cereal aisle, Ethan pushed the cart slowly, lost in thought. That's when he saw her again, but not Clara. A little girl, maybe 6 or 7, sitting in a wheelchair near the pharmacy counter. She was pale, thin, and had bright eyes that sparkled despite her frail frame. And next to her stood Clara, holding a prescription bag, smiling softly as she spoke to the pharmacist. Ethan stopped for a moment, feeling a strange sense of emotion rise in his chest. He didn't want to intrude, so he quietly turned away before she saw him. When they returned home, Noah was unusually quiet. He sat on the couch, staring at nothing. Ethan sat beside him. What's wrong, buddy? Noah looked up slowly. Daddy, I saw her. Who? The lady who comes to clean. She was with a little girl at the store. Yeah, I saw them too, Ethan said softly. That's her daughter. Noah shook his head. No, Daddy, that's not what I mean. He paused, his voice trembling. That's the girl from my dream. Ethan frowned. Your dream? Noah nodded. I dream about a girl sometimes. She's sitting by a window, and she's crying. I tell her not to be sad, but she says she's waiting for her mommy to come home. Daddy, that's her. The same girl. Ethan's skin prickled, a chill running through him. He tried to brush it off as coincidence, but deep down, something about the boy's certainty unsettled him. A week later, Clara didn't show up. No call, no message. Ethan tried to reach her, but the number went straight to voicemail. He grew worried, not just for her but for her daughter too. After 2 days, he decided to check the small apartment address she had once mentioned. When he arrived, the door was slightly open. He knocked gently. Clara. A weak voice answered, come in. He stepped inside and found her sitting by her daughter's bedside. Lily looked pale but peaceful, sleeping with an IV attached to her arm. Clara looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. She smiled faintly when she saw him. I didn't want you to see me like this. Ethan shook his head. You should have called. You don't have to go through this alone. She looked at him with tears brimming. I've been alone for a long time. I'm used to it. He sat beside her and spoke softly. What's wrong with her? Leukemia? She whispered. She's been fighting for a year. I work wherever I can to pay for the treatment. I didn't tell you because I didn't want pity. Ethan's heart sank. It's not pity. It's care. You've done so much for us. Let me help you. For a moment, she looked at him as if she wanted to believe him but couldn't. No one's ever said that to me before, she murmured. Over the next few days, Ethan helped however he could, bringing meals, covering a few bills, taking care of Lily when Clara had to work elsewhere. Noah spent time with her too, reading her stories and drawing pictures to make her smile. The house that had once felt empty now felt alive again, filled with laughter and gentle voices. But one evening, while they all sat together, Lily suddenly looked up at Ethan and said something that made his breath catch. I remember you, she said softly. Ethan blinked in confusion. You do? She nodded weakly. When I was in the hospital last year, I saw you in my dream. You were holding a little boy's hand. Clara froze, her hand tightening around Lily's. Ethan didn't know what to say. Before he could respond, Lily smiled faintly and whispered, I told the angels that if I could meet you, I'd be okay. Later that night, after putting Noah to bed, Ethan sat alone in the quiet living room, his heart heavy and full. He didn't know what fate was doing, but he felt like life had brought them together for a reason. A few days later, Clara returned to work again, trying to act normal. But there was something different in her eyes now, hope. And as she cleaned, Noah came running into the room, holding one of his drawings. Daddy, look, he shouted, pointing at Clara. It's her. Ethan looked at the paper. It was a drawing of an angel holding hands with a woman and a little girl. The resemblance was uncanny. Clara gasped softly, her hand over her mouth. Ethan knelt beside Noah. What do you mean, buddy? Noah smiled innocently. That's her, Daddy. She's the one from the dream who helps the sad people find their way home. The room fell silent. Clara's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, maybe your son sees things we can't. Ethan reached out, taking her trembling hand. Maybe he's right, he said softly. And for the first time in a long while, the world didn't feel so broken anymore.